To this point in our journey into the world of files, we've done a lot of looking at how to read the contents of a file in several different ways. Now it's time to give writing to a file a little bit of love. Now, writing is very similar to reading. You're going to open a file, you're going to get a reference to that file, and then instead of reading, you're going to write to it. So it seems very simple, but there's definitely a few little gotchas that you need to pay attention to, and I'm going to show you some of them now. So what I would like to do is I would like to write to a file. So let's create a new script here, and we're going to save this one as file_write.py, like that. And now I want to go through the process of getting a reference to a file and go ahead and writing to it. But let's be a little bit more interesting about it. I would like to create a copy of the contents that we had in the lorem.txt file. So I would need to read that file, and I would need to write the contents of that file to another file. So let's kind of work through that together. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to open lorem.txt, and I'm by default going to get access to that as read access. So that's what the default is. And I want to hang on to that as lorem_in. So that's going to be the in version, or actually maybe even in file would be better. So this is going to be the in file that I'm going to be working with, the existing file. And then I also want to do another with that is going to open. In this case, it's going to be lorem_copy.txt. Now, as I mentioned before, if I don't specify a second parameter to the open function, it's going to open it with read access. Well, that's not what I want this time. I want to be able to write to this file. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to specify a second parameter with a W. So W means write. So now that I have write access, I need to get this as lorem out file, like that. And now I have two pointers to two different files. I have the lorem in file and the lorem out file. So what I would like to do is I would like to read the entire string contents of the in file, write it to the out file. So we could do that quite simply by saying lorem_out file dot write, and I want to write to it lorem in file dot read. And that's basically it. So I want to take all the contents of lorem.txt and then copy it into lorem_copy.txt. So let's go ahead and save that. We'll flip over to our console here and we'll go ahead and run this. We'll say Python 3 file_write. Let's go ahead and run that. And as you saw in the background here in my text editor, I got a new file here, lorem_copy.txt. And as you can see, I got a one-to-one copy of the contents of my lorem file, which is pretty cool. So I've been able to read all of the contents using read, and I was able to write that entire string using write. And that's basically the process of writing to a file, is using the write function. So that's cool. And then what if I wanted to write some other content? So, maybe we take a break with all this stuff and, I just wanted to write some other contents there. So let's say we'll open again. Let's get that copy file again. Let's say lorem copy, and this is .txt. And remember, we wanted to use the write access. We want to use the W like we did before, just like that. And we'll save that as lorem copy. We'll call it copy this time. And let's just add something else to the file. We'll say lorem_copy. And let's write hello writing to files using Python. So something simple like that. So we'll go ahead and save that. So let's come back to our console again. Let's execute that again. Oh, everything looks like it worked. Let's check out our file. And what just happened? I wrote to that file, and why is everything gone? And that's one of the first gotchas that you have to pay attention to when you are writing to files using Python. So what we did here is we opened the file just like we've done several times before, and we opened it for write access, and then we wrote to it. Well, one thing that you'll have to understand that Python is going to do when you open a file with write access, if that file does not exist, it will create it for you. If it does exist, it is actually going to erase it or clear it or delete it and recreate it, overwriting everything you had there before. So if you have important files and you have them backed up and everything is good and you have multiple copies and you use write access, then you're going to be okay. But if you don't and you just overwrote everything that was in that file, you might be in some trouble. So how do we get around this? What if I wanted to add contents to the file, not necessarily overwrite the file? Well, there's an additional file access that you can use when opening a file instead of using write, and that would be A for append. So if you want to write to a file and clear it out as if it never existed and start over from scratch, then W or write is your file access of choice. If you would like to append contents to that file, then you want to use A for append. So if I use A and I go ahead and save this and come back over and execute my file again, or execute my script again, and take a look at copy, you're going to see now I have these two lines together. Well, why were they sandwiched together here? Well, the reason for that is because write function, which is going to write exactly what you specified, and if you are using append, it is going to append it to the absolute end of the file, and because we didn't specify any new line characters or anything like that, it's just going to keep appending it right next to each other all the time. So in order to fix that, if you want to specify spaces in or lines in between there, then you're going to have to make sure you specify new line characters within your string. So let's go ahead and save this and run it again. And once we've run it, we can come back and take a look at our copy again. And now I not only put the next write statement on a new line because of that new line character, I also specified a new line character at the end of that string. And as you can see, I have a third blank line here. So just a couple things to keep in mind when you're writing to a file. That file access W means write. It's going to overwrite anything that previously existed. And A is going to append anything to that file. And you do have to make sure you specify new line characters and that sort of structural stuff that you can use to put some spaces in between your lines and kind of format your text to look nice within your file.